Good morning. I'm not going to wait till 4:44 today, and I really rushed to get it to 3:33. I stayed in bed as long as I did. I didn't even go into the meditation room this morning, although I've been awake most of the night since midnight, and I only went to bed at 11. Oh my goodness. So I really, truthfully, did not get a chance to ponder much as I usually do. I very rarely don't get the meditation uh, in before, although I laid awake, as I said, most of the night pondering many things. It wasn't the download of energy like I felt on the 11th. Uh, I just wanted to get back to sleep, and I want to do that again. So this is probably going to be a short video today. The question that I ask as the title is it time to wake up yet? That was the question I asked yesterday after sharing a video made by a man in Australia who discovered that government agencies were a sham. They are privately owned corporations. It's the same all over the world. When enough of us grasp this, we will be able to change it. Or I should probably say, will we be able to change it? But that's not what I wrote. I will find the link for the video after after a bit here. It's on my Facebook page, and I post a lot of things on Facebook that the people that are only YouTube subscribers do not get a chance to see. And after the meeting last night, I talked some with Margie about this. There were 8 of us in the meeting last night. I was actually pleased showing a video that the Living Matrix. I showed that video, and there was good discussion, although a few people said that they had trouble staying awake during the video, which I don't understand, but then again, each person's different. But Margie and I did talk afterwards about this situation, about how important is it to understand the political structure of our world and the economic realities of our world. To me, these are very, very important things that a lot of people still want to put their head in the sand, and when they bring up politics and you start talking about the financial system, well, that's a conspiracy. I don't want to get into conspiracy theories. That's negative. And I was sharing how some of the people in the Thursday group that I go to, the Mystics in Training, are in the camp of don't talk about politics. We don't want politics in this group. And they don't want it in their lives either. Some of these people that are in that group don't want to hear anything about politics. And yet, to me, I've always been in the position that it's important to know what's going on in our world and how our world really is. Because if we don't acknowledge the reality of the illusion that we're living in and experiencing on a day-to-day basis, it's never going to change. You have to shine the light, from my perspective, on the reality of the situation. And the reality of the situation is what's wrong with it. What's wrong with it? Margie said she's somewhere in between where I am and where these other people are in the Thursday group. That she recognizes that you do need to pay attention to those things, but she didn't really explain what she means by in between. Obviously, she agrees somewhat with them that we don't focus attention there. You all have heard me say over and over again that we must focus attention there. The same thing with our feelings and our shadow elements. We must look at the things that we don't want. In the video last night, which I had thought I didn't see before, but when I watched it, I realized that I had probably seen it about 2, maybe even 3 years ago at Claudia's Friday night group, the spiritual enlightenment group that I go to many Friday nights, that I had actually watched that movie. But a lady shared how she had a brain tumor and she was trying to learn everything about it and to figure out how to make it go away. And it wouldn't go away until she realized it was part of her own being. It was part of her body. And she may as well accept that it was there for a reason and welcome it and let it and develop an attitude instead of a war against a part of her own body. She had to develop an attitude where she could accept it. And when she did, 6 months later, the tumor was gone. She gave the tumor permission to stay there the rest of her life if it needed to. She gave it permission. But when she did that, her whole attitude changed. And when you change your attitude, I'm learning it. The universe is getting it through to me. When you change your attitude toward the things that are happening in the world, the things that are happening in the world and in your experience of the world change. And I'm not telling you that we need to fight the system, but I am telling you that you need to understand and accept where the system is and what it is. And I've mentioned it numerous times that governments in the United States since 1871, we have not had a government. In fact, after the Civil War, Congress never reconvened as the Republic for the United States. It never reconvened. It lay dormant. And in 1871, the corporation took over the United States. And from that time on, they began this thing which was going on before that around the world to incorporate everything, to turn all government agencies into privately held corporations for the benefit of a handful of very wealthy bankers. Governments don't need, for example, to borrow money to operate the governments. That is a total fraud. It is a sham. We don't need to do that. It's the root, that very thing, that monetary system where governments and kings and presidents and congresses and the governing bodies of our country, the so-called governing bodies, where they put themselves into slavery and into bondage to financial oligarchs. And you create, it doesn't matter what the name you put on the government, whether you call it a democracy, whether you call it socialism, whether you call it capitalism, whether you call it conservative or liberal, it doesn't matter the label that you put on it. When it's a corporation and when it's done with borrowed money from privately held individuals, it's an oligarchy. It's not a government at all. It's a sham. It's de facto. It's operating under color of law. It's pretending to be in charge and have authority. But it has no legitimate authority except through the ignorance of the people, which is why I asked the question, is it time to wake up yet? Are you getting it? Are you sharing it with your friends? Are you letting them know that what we think of as our governments are not real governments? Because we need to understand that. Now, Margie did point out that she thinks the most important thing is the work that we do internally, the shadow work, the emotional healing, the spiritual awareness of recognizing that we are responsible for the world that we create, for the situations that we have in our lives. We are responsible, and we do have to take responsibility for that. She's right. We have to do the inner work. I've stressed that as well. But the inner work and the outer work basically are the same thing. And one of the points that I did bring up in the discussion with her last night, I remembered my friend Bruce, who had a series of lectures called Environments That Encourage Growth, which I believe was a series that he actually delivered at the Tabernacle in Melbourne, Florida, before I moved here in 1983. It was probably 1982, 81, 82, somewhere around there, that he actually created that series of lectures in which he said the environment that encourages growth, encourages spiritual growth, is first of all love and not fear. And people in this world are going to remain ignorant for the most part until we can change that structure, or at least shine enough light on that structure that it can no longer be maintained. Now, granted, when you shine the light on these cockroaches that manipulate the system and want to control people and don't care about killing people and don't care about robbing people's homes and robbing from people and taking control of their possessions. And some people, again, yesterday said that we're not supposed to have possessions. If somebody wants something, give it to them. And I challenged the person that asked that, well, how would you feel if a group of people came to your house and said, get out, walk, we want everything that's in here, including your family. We'll let you go, we're not going to hurt you, but this is ours now. How would you feel? You know, for these are the people that think that it's not important in this three-dimensional reality to own anything or to take responsibility and say, this is mine. There are things that are mine. This is my body. The home that I live in is my home. Is it permanent? No. It's on loan from the universe, if you will, from God, but it's mine while it's here. And I have boundaries that need to protect that which is mine. But it's not warfare. You understand? It's standing in truth. And this is where we all need to be, where we need to grow up to, because we're not going to change the world until we acknowledge the world we're in. We have to stop calling it an illusion. Stop seeing ourselves as deficient, as sinners, as weak and pitiful people. We have to grow up. We have to wake up. And we need to love ourselves first, and we need to recognize the world we're in and love the gift that it gave to us, because it is so bad in the world that it's waking people up. That's what happened in Iceland. That's what's happening in Greece and in Spain and in Portugal and in much of Europe and the Middle East and Northern Africa. And it's happening all over the United States as people begin to grasp the enormity of the fraud and of the deception that we've been operating under as a human family. And when we do that, the ego that is on the higher level, the collective ego or the elite establishment, is exposed and can no longer operate the same as it did before. It must either learn to cooperate or die, or not be supported by the new energies of consciousness. And consciousness does drive reality. Folks, you've got to grasp that. It is the awareness of the reality of the illusion that changes the illusion. It has to be that way. It's not by ignorance. It's not by ignoring. It's not by denying. It's not by turning your head away and putting your head in the sand and trying to think only good thoughts. All thoughts are good thoughts when you embrace the whole. It has to be holistically applied. And that was the Living Matrix message. We are living beings. We live in a living matrix. And everything, the field that we live in, affects everything. We are luminous beings. We are giving off light. Every cell in our body gives off light. How many of you talk to your bodies? I've mentioned that before. I talk to my body. I talk to my cells. I talk to my organs. I talk to my appliances. I talk to my car. I talk to every system in my house. And I bless. Do I do it every day? No. But do I do it often? Yes. I'm grateful for the world that I live in. I'm grateful that my body serves me. I'm grateful that things serve me. But everything is alive. It's time to wake up yet. From my point of view, I ask you, is it time to wake up yet? Are you willing to wake up and accept the world as it is? And in accepting it, you will be able to watch it transform and change. It is the way it is only because of human ignorance, because people put their head in the sand by choice and refuse to investigate to learn the truth by choice. This is the reality that we're living in, and it's the message that I'm sharing today, and it is a repeat of other messages. I didn't say anything new. I will try to find the link to that wonderfully produced documentary by the man in Australia, and I'll put that in the blurb. It's not there yet, but it will be by the time it gets posted up on YouTube and Facebook. I thank you very much for listening. Namaste. It did go 16 minutes. That surprised me. Have a beautiful day.